everyone. So I think we can now start. So the webinar is on. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our Telecom review webinar on riding the wave of generative AI. I am Hamza Jadouane, manager at PMP Strategy. PMP Strategy is the knowledge partner of Telecom Review. Our firm has extensive experience working with telecom actors around the globe. And as part of our work, we have seen firsthand how transformative generative AI can be. So I am honored to be the moderator of this webinar, which features a highly distinguished panel of experts. And I cannot wait to hear what they all have to say on the subjects. I will continue the roundtable, and I will first leave the floor to Mr. Abhay Savargaonkar to introduce himself. So VP and Head of Technology at Nokia.
I'm Abhay Savargaonkar. I am the CTO for Global Sales in Cloud and Network Services of Nokia. And I'm also responsible for the alliances that we do in Cloud and Network Services. My prior experiences have been almost 35 years in the telecom fraternity, earlier with the operator side, close to about 30 years, and since last 5 years I've been in Nokia. Prior to joining Nokia, I was the CTO of Bharti Airtel in India.
Nice. Thank you, Abhay. I will now introduce Mr. Alaa Ibrahim, CTO at Umniah. Mr. Alaa.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for hosting me today. Alaa Ibrahim, I'm the CTO for Umniah. I've been here for the past almost 2 years. Before that, I used to be working for telecom groups, including B-Yond, Rascom Telecom, Telecom Egypt, and I've been working on the vendor side as well for AlFadhel in the past. So an experience of around 29 years, and I hope I will add value to your webinar today. Thank you.
Thank you, Alaa. I'll then leave the floor to Ayman AlFadhel, VP of Cybersecurity at Salam.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you, Hamza. Thank you for all of you, for being with us here today. I'm Ayman AlFadhel, the VP of Cybersecurity for Salam. Salam is a telecom operator in Saudi. I'm responsible to manage the cybersecurity to the company, as well to manage security services that we are providing to our customers. I have more than 20 years experience in a telecom, defense and international company. Thank you.
Thank you, Ayman. Shukran. And yeah, I will introduce now Mr. Rikard Kjellberg, Chief Product Officer at B-Yond.
Thank you, Hamza. Glad to be here. So I'm the CPO at B-Yond. We are a network diagnostics company, heavy user of AI, ML, and more so generative AI as well. I have about 25 years of experience serving telecommunication service providers, always on the vendor side with services, solutions, and products. I'm really excited to be here in this forum. Thank you.
Thank you. We also have with us Mr. Mushfig Aliyev, Chief Commercial Officer at Azerconnect, who I think is experiencing technical difficulties. I hope he can join us soon. But yeah, I also wanted to introduce him as well. And before we start, I want to pass the mic to Toni, CEO at Trace Media and the founder of the Telecom Review Group, to welcome you guys.
Thank you, Hamza. I will make it brief. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Toni. I'm the founder of Telecom Review Group, and it's my pleasure to welcome you all today at Telecom Review webinar entitled Riding the Wave of Generative AI. With all the hype around the topic of generative AI, Telecom Review has decided to organize this panel today to discuss the readiness of mobile operators and vendors and their objective in deploying AI, and discover how the industry players perceive it and are implementing this AI. I would like to thank all our speakers and our moderator who joined us today. I'm sure today's session will cover all aspects of generative AI and provide insight on how, what, and what's going beyond the hype into the real business application. Now, I will leave the floor to Hamza to kickstart the discussion of today's webinar. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Toni. Thank you. So now to introduce the first section of the webinar. So our panelists will share their perspectives on the four main topics. The first one is going to be the state of generative AI, the current trends and advancements. The second topic will be around the solutions and best practices for implementing generative AI. The third topic we will cover will be around how generative AI is applied specifically in telecoms, so specific to telecom use cases. And we will lastly speak about the prediction. We'll cover the topic of predictions of the future of generative AI. So yeah, our panelists will share their inputs on that as well. Now, before we begin, I would also like to let you know that we will end this webinar with a Q&A. So the first section will last around 1 hour, 50 minutes. And then, yeah, we'll leave 30 minutes at the end to address your questions. So you can submit all of your questions using the Q&A section during the first section. And then we will also be conducting polls to gather your perspective as well. Your participation will be greatly appreciated on that as well. Now, my first question will go to Abhay Savargaonkar, and it's around, why there's suddenly so much hype around generative AI, and halfway through 2024, what are the most notable trends in generative AI you have observed?
Interesting question. Why suddenly there is so much of hype that's happening around generative AI? As you all must be knowing, AI has been existing for quite some time. It's been 30, 40 years, maybe 50 years since some of the form or shape it has been there. But why suddenly so much of hype? So let me start on a lighter note to answer this particular thing, which will give you a relation between whatever kinds of artificial intelligence used to be there versus what generative AI can do. So typically, if on a table there is milk which is kept, there is custard powder which is kept, there is sugar which is kept, and maybe a few dry fruits which are kept. Typically, the machine, just after looking at all of these, typically were trained. When they see this, they would know that all of this will be used in order to make a custard, and then they would be programmed, and that's how they were trained in order to make it. What would generative AI do looking at these 5 things is slightly different from what the making of the custard would be. Generative AI would come up with 5 different recipes that can be made, or 5 or 8 or 10, whatever it is, with the same content that you saw on the table. So this is the fundamental difference. It would come up and say you could make a vanilla pastry, you could make a cream product, you could make a pudding, you could make custard tart, multiple kinds of things. The fundamental difference that we are seeing from what used to be there versus what generative AI can do is generating content. So it is creating a new content because of the knowledge base that it's happening. So anything and everything which is creating a new content has always been creating a hype, and therefore you see the potential can be unlimited, and therefore people are looking at generative AI as a big thing. Looking at some of the big trends in 2024 in the last 6 months, again, let me start on a lighter note. The biggest trend has been NVIDIA share prices went up from 150 to 420 now. So you can imagine what has happened on that particular account. But getting to a serious front, the most important thing that has happened on the business count is there is a reality check that has happened. Now everybody knows what generative AI or AI in general can be done, what it can be used for, what it cannot be used for. So that's the first and foremost thing that has happened. The second thing that we have seen as a trend, which is there, is multimodal AI models. And what multimodal AI model means you are combining a lot of stuff. You are combining images, languages, audio, all kinds of thing, and bringing it all together in terms of bringing multimodal AI stuff into existence. You have also seen some very interesting stuff happening on the, as I said, generative AI is all about creation of content. So last year we saw the Writers Guild of America, they went on strike. They did not want to write stories for the motion picture unless until they have an agreement. And one of the interesting things, if you are read their agreement, is that even if they generate content using AI and use it for making a motion picture, they will be paid as if they would have done it for a previous gig. So very interesting stuff happening there. Very interesting stuff happening amongst the agreements that the AI companies are doing with news corps in terms of how they will consume or how they will take the content and the license to use the content that has already been generating. On the technological front, one interesting move that's happening is from large language models. Now there is another trend which is coming to smaller language models as well. So some of the recent trends that we have seen in the past 6-7 months, this is what I can recall, but there are other speakers who would like to add a lot many things that are happening on in the trends part in the last 6-7 months. Thank you, Azman.
Thanks a lot, Abhay. Thanks for your interesting inputs. I will leave the floor to Alaa, who I see wants to add regarding the current trends of generative AI.
Well, just to add, to complement to what have been said, actually, we have seen also in the past year that the models themselves are becoming more efficient. AI models are becoming more efficient. And that's very good news for us because that reduces the need for the computational power needed to run these models. And I can refer, when we started looking at AI last year, the hardware requirements needed was, I can say, I mean, huge compared to what we think the value would be coming. But more and more going through different POCs, we have seen the hardware getting, of course, the hardware itself is getting more capable using hardware accelerators and so on. But as well, the models are becoming more efficient. So that's, again, is a very positive sign that we can continue to depend on the AI to do what we are looking for it. So that's a very good progress happening last year, I've seen.
Hamza, you are on mute.
Thanks a lot, Alaa. Is there any other additions to this question?
Yeah, and if you allow me, Hamza, I would highlight a small point here related to the cybersecurity. What we have seen recently that number of attack has been increased big time by using AI because it's allowing more people who don't have skills or even a deep knowledge of a cyber. They was now able to do a very sophisticated attack by using AI. So this is one of, unfortunately, a bad use of AI that we should protect ourselves by using the same technology that used by attacker, which is AI, to enhance the process and enhance the way how to protect the organization. Thank you.
Thank you, Ayman.
Hamza, a couple of other things. Being a technologist, I recently Googled generative AI technology stack, and I got 10 answers, all different. But I think there's a technology stack emerging. If we look just above the hardware and infrastructure itself, which is huge, you know, as we know, but we're starting to see the large language models, technologies above that, so using retrieval augmented generation, knowledge graphs is another important technology, and even what we're starting to see now about large action models that are focused on looking at information and what action to take. So it's starting to, the architecture is starting to sort itself out, I think. I also think there's a lot of activity at the inference layer where you're leveraging LLMs for niche and domain-specific applications. And there are very few players working at the foundational level on the LLMs themselves. There's a couple of startups, OpenAI Anthropic and maybe Perplexity. And then it's the established players who are using it for their own purposes, right? Enhancing search or making Alexa better. I don't know, you know.
Yeah, interesting indeed. Yeah, a lot of changes that have happened since the beginning. Yeah, I see Mushfig was able to join us.
Yes,
So
yes. Hamza, what we see as the latest trend that makes the application of AI easier is that many AI apps have become available in local languages.
yeah,
and most of them are free. In telco, where I work, it makes life easier in two parts, in personalized marketing and in telesales. Imagine in weeks, if not in days, you can figure out telesales applications that sells. So the availability of AI applications in local language is the very recent trend that businesses start benefiting from.
Yeah, indeed. I remember in the beginning, we used to tell everyone to use a ChatGPT only in English because there was a huge performance gap between English and other languages, which, at least for French, I know that there's not much difference now in terms of performance. So indeed. Unless there's any other reactions, I'll move on to the next question. So the next question was about which breakthrough innovations in generative AI has been integrated in your company, operations or product offerings. And I'll leave the floor to Rikard Kjellberg.
Thank you very much. So yeah, our product is a 4G and 5G network diagnostic solution, and we use AI and ML to accelerate the whole triage process in pre-production and production. We use generative AI in combination with other AI and ML techniques to create a whole chain of actions through this application. And what's interesting is the combination of this creates some really sort of useful features, functionality. So just quickly, we use AI-based image recognition technology to do real-time pass-fail of network traffic at scale. We use PCAP data that's been curated in real time to binary images, as an example. We use symbolic ML models and other ML features to do deep root cause diagnostics of failures. And then we use generative AI and large language models to combine these diagnostics results, which can be rather cryptic, and we combine them with other information sources, including our own proprietary tribal knowledge and 3GPP documentation to provide a more readable result to our users. And we also use LLMs or generative AI to provide a more human-like interface to our system, so the users can ask in-depth questions about the results just using text, for example. And we're now increasingly starting to look at large action models to enter into the space of automated remediation. So there's so much going on here. It's very, very exciting. What's also interesting is, as was mentioned before, there's the concept of small language models, and this allows us to put AI at the edges, which is very suitable for telco networks and even on mobile devices. Actually, we've created small language models that are as small as 10 gigabyte and maybe a sweet spot at 80 gigabyte, and they can reside on the device itself. We've submitted some papers to the IEEE and other forums as well, and we're going to be presenting there soon. There's a lot of interesting work going on in the space in general, and we're super excited to be part of it.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Rikard. Very interesting indeed. I'll leave the floor to Abhay. You wanted to add something, I think, on this one as well.
Yeah. So interestingly, what we did, we bifurcated the use of AI into two aspects. What we can do for productivity enhancement and what we can do for product enhancement. So as the question was that operations is mostly related to the productivity enhancement. So I'll talk about some things, some interesting cases in both productivity and product enhancement. Let me start with the product. So we have this product called Cybersecurity Dome, which is basically a umbrella overarching solution for threat identification, detection, and rectification, and taking actions. Now, any security product per se, if you are having it to monitor it, to run it, to handle it, you need expert security people in order to handle it. So what we did is we integrated it with AI, and now, I mean, any person who can converse in normal English language can identify whatever that they want to. So if they ask, what are my network elements, what are the network functions which are having high loads of stress, there is a likelihood of some attack that's going to happen. The display would come and it will show the network nodes which are facing some kind of problems related to that. You ask the system that, okay, now if this needs to be done, what are the top 3 precautions that I need to take? Tuck, 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 it will show it to you. So you don't need, you have eliminated the people, the expertise security monitoring team, and replace it with AI. So that's one interesting use case that we have been able to put forth in our Cybersecurity Dome product of Nokia. Another very interesting thing is networks. As you know, telecom networks are pretty complex, and when we are talking about 5G networks, they are all the more complex because everything is software, and then they are on cloud, and they are distributed across multiple VMs or containers, and it really becomes difficult in order to pinpoint what exactly is going to happen, or what is the impact of anything that you are doing in the system. So this concept of creating a digital twin, which is what we use AI for. So you can create a digital twin of your entire network. Once you have that, you can test out the new version of the upgrade software that you want to put on the system. Any patches that you have created, you want to see the performance of that. You want to see the reaction of that. You want to do threat prediction analysis on that particular thing. So anything that you want to test your real life network without touching the real life network, but incorporating it on a digital twin, is something which is very, very interesting in the way we have been using AI in order to handle it. Of course, there is another use case that we have got into, which is in case of digital operations, what we mean is you shouldn't know how exactly the system needs to be configured in order to make a certain action happen. It has become intent based. So you can tell the intent that I want so and so quality of service to happen for so and so period of time. Rest of it, the translation of the intent to the actual action that needs to happen on the network, is taken care of by the system. So that's again a very interesting use of trying and eliminating all the complexities from how you handle the overall product scenarios. On the productivity side of things, as I said, one very interesting use case that we have found is in Nokia, we have tons and tons of data sets of, say, for example, the tag 3 complaints or level 3 interventions that needs to be done on the network. So much of database. So what we did is we curated all the database, running large language models, processing and extracting useful information so that the diagnostic of similar level 3 problems that happened on the network can become very quick. We are also using it for RFP responses because we have tons and tons of data related to RFP. So some very innovative ways in which we have started using. Sorry for the long answer, but that's what we have been doing.
Thank you.
Over to you.
Thank you. I see that Alaa also wants to add something.
Just to complement what Abhay was saying, and I think the predictive maintenance part is what I want to focus on the telco part. That has been very useful for us because you know that with the 5G standard, I mean, SONOS or self-optimizing networks is already part of the standard. But what makes AI, when you enable the AI on top of the SON platforms, is the fact that you get the predictive capabilities that AI gives you. So you do not only take this, or you do the root cause analysis, and you take the tool will be giving you recommendations based on what you see in front of you, what's happening around the sites, but it also forecasts what can happen with the evolution of the traffic, with the mobility of the traffic, and then it gives you more concise recommendations of how parameters can be changed or configurations can be changed to proactively fix or catch a problem before it happens. That has been very useful for the telecom industry, and the more that we depend on it, the more that we'll be able to trust AI to come in and let's say give the hand to the teams to do their jobs.
Thanks a lot, Alaa. Yeah, the first use case mentioned by Abhay regarding cybersecurity reminds me of one that we've implemented recently, which was just about helping us manage migration to another IT stack, which we created a chatbot basically to help consultants answer different questions on things to do before the migration and to accompany them. So that's something that also can be used in cybersecurity. What are the things to do to help teach people or to answer questions people have on cybersecurity as well. We can move on to the next question. So the next question was about what are some of the most impactful real-world applications of generative AI. We started covering this, the previous one. And yeah, how do you maximize these to enhance services and increase monetization? So I think we've already started to cover the impactful applications of generative AI, but if you maybe you can share with us maybe outside of your company things that you see as really impactful in generative AI. So I think maybe Alaa, if you want to take this one.
No, I mean, I just mentioned the proactive maintenance, but if we move to the commercial part, I think it's all about personalization. I think GenAI will play a big role and is playing a big role in personalization of services, how we can use the GenAI to be closer to our customers, to understand their needs, and to tailor our services to meet their requirements. I think this is very important aspect now that we are more and more bringing in AI to help to understand our customer, to understand their needs. So another thing that I've seen AI helping so much using LLM models, of course, are the chatbots. So chatbots now are becoming more, let's say, capable and more intelligent to deal with the customer needs and to talk to them with their own languages and to answer their requirements easier. So that's something also that have been very useful, and we are capitalizing on it in our operation.
Thanks a lot, Alaa. Any additions to this one?
Then I would like to add to that. I think, as Alaa said, usually AI should be used in a way where you can monetize of your services. So as an example, if we're looking to a customer services where usually you need to hire a number of people to answer the calls and start serving the customer, AI will help you by reducing the number of people in a call center, actually by starting answering and giving the solutions and suggesting even more services and product in a very customized way for individual customers. So usually the AI can able to understand and to track the historical data of a customer to understand his issue, his need, his way. If you give an example, like a DSL as an example, or fiber to the home. So if he starts analyzing the customer usage and he can understand the customer is start using a huge bandwidth, then he can suggest to him that package is not good for you. I would recommend you to go to that package based on your use, or I would recommend to you to add this is product or that service because you have a kid or you have a smart home or whatever. So AI, I think it will be very helpful when it's come to the monetization and even reducing the cost and even for a customer experience and enhancing experience customer.
Hamza, just to complement what is said by Ayman with some real examples in our part of the world, these customer care operations in Telecom, we launched chatbot that handles the customer request. So with this, we had for the last 6 months observed 10% decrease in customer care, in the calls to customer care by the automation in the back that it has given. And based on this development, we have planned and started the execution of the plan to reduce the number of people in customer care by 20% in the next 6 months in the next 5 months of the year. So 20% reduction of the employees or staff in customer care is driven by the application of the GenAI in customer care. Another one is as said by Alaa, in personalized marketing. Just tomorrow, it is a good coincidence, we launch a product called Tariff Advisor. It is AI-based Tariff Advisor, not only the automation part, but also the generation part that will interact with the customer in our app. It's called Tariff Advisor. Tomorrow is the launch day. So it is another real example that we do that. One more thing that we have done here with GenAI development in marketing communication part, because now in the content generation, generative AI has advanced a lot. Globally, it is one of the advancements that we observe. So we have done the rebranding of one of the telco players that we manage, and AI content generation part has taken a great place there. So with this development, we plan to reduce number of people in marketing communications by 10% in the next 5 months to come. So this is another example I just wanted to share with all of us.
Thanks a lot, Mushfig. Thank you. Just before we move on to the next question, I just wanted to remind the viewers that you can add in your questions in the Q&A section. So I see that for now, there are no questions. Yeah, I just wanted to remind you, take this opportunity to ask our experts the questions you have on generative AI. And we will move on to a very interesting one, which was, what are the key considerations and challenges for businesses looking to implement generative AI? And what are the best practices that should be followed to ensure successful generative AI deployment? I think, I can hand off the mic for now to Rikard, and others do not hesitate afterwards to join in as well. Rikard?
Yeah, this is a really interesting space, and in working with most of the largest telcos in the world, we see first question is, should they go it alone or should they partner with an expert in the field? And when they decide to go it alone, to understand that just having all the data is just not enough. You need to have a well-integrated team of domain experts, meaning those who know the telco domain, data scientists, of course, and expert developers who all share common understanding and also common ways of working is important. Just the data, as I mentioned, is not enough. You have to figure out how to automatically curate the data into high-quality data sets that you can work with all kinds of machine learning and AI tools, including generative AI. Working in iterative fashions, which is some cases a new way of working for telcos, is also super important. Infrastructure strategy is important. Shall we use our own data center? Should we go to public cloud? We see from a vendor side a lot of objections to public clouds based on security concerns. Personally, I think this is unfortunate. I think the cloud providers see more security issues than any other enterprise will ever see, and I think they have implemented some of the best security measures in the world. And I think they can protect the proprietary data really well, and I see more and more that telcos are tapping into this. It could happen faster, in my opinion. The other things to consider is what kind of response speeds do we need to have in the AI itself for example, I work a lot in the network operations side. So we can set aside things like chatbots, bots, and support things that are really leveraging, getting help from generative AI right now. But real time is key here, and large language models are still not suitable for results generation when it's real time. But on the support side, as mentioned, they're perfectly suitable. So having a multi-AI technology approach on the network side is really, really good. We believe in work, if you work with partners, having some sort of a build, operate, transfer model where you can take ownership of the result over time as you gain the expertise needed is a good model.
Hamza, some minor addition from my side, what we see as challenge. The execution of the roadmap, the timing, the milestones, to plan it accordingly and to execute it in a timely manner, sometimes present challenges. What we learn is that unlike in software development, in AI, the man-hour planning, this exact precise day-based planning is not the case. We have two teams, we call it digital lab, internal ones. We have 300 people there, but we also, as Rikard said, we work with partners globally based in India, Estonia, Poland, and so on. But one common observation, either it is an internal resource or the partner one, it takes time to learn and to apply, to learn and apply. So the challenge is that unlike in software development here, 6 months, 1 year, quarterly based planning sometimes is not that easy. It shifts a lot. And it is about the nature of the work, because it demands as the machines to learn, some other learning should come to consider it accordingly. One more considerations, in addition to our digital lab, we launched AI unit under commercial to make sure that it interacts with customers easily based on the enablement by internal resources, but also to make sure that we get benefits through partnerships across the globe. It usually helps. What we learned the last 3 months, it helped us in making corrections in our roadmaps and so on.
Thanks a lot, Mushfig. Thank you.
Can I add that?
Yeah.
Sure, thank you. And I would, in my opinion, I will summarize this as in 5 points. First of all, from my experience that working using AI, we should have a clear strategy and objective why you want to use AI. I mean, you should not start by adopting specific technology, then you finding yourself expanding and you don't know what to do, or start being like lose the objective. So you start have a clear strategy, an objective, why you want to use AI and where you want to use it. After that, I think you should have start implementing your plan in a very small scale and test it. Then you can scale up based on the benefit that you have. Third point is to make sure that you have a specific department to deal and manage the huge data that you're going to become with using AI, because AI going to generate a huge data. And it's going to use also and you analyze huge data. So you should have a dedicated department who can know how to deal with this is a huge number of data and how to manage it. The fourth point is to protect the data, because as we know, AI might be a reason for a data leakage. Because putting the data in AI without taking into consideration and control what or the classification or a data, that might into data leakage. And as an example, ChatGPT, whatever information you put it in a ChatGPT, it will be used to answer someone else. So make sure that you should not put a sensitive or classified data. Last point is to invest on a training, because all of this is useless of your people in a company. They are not trained well to use and maximize the benefit of this is AI and tools. because this is new. People, they don't know how to use it in a best way. So you should invest in a training to make sure that people are able to maximize the benefits of AI technology. Thank you.
I see that Alaa is raising his hands as well. Thank you, Ayman. Very interesting. Alaa, the floor is yours.
Just one point from my side. I think, and again, it's based on a practical implementation here. It's the fact that there are a lot of challenges that prevent to implement what we call the closed loop concept, meaning that we trust the AI to do the full loop till the implementation part. And I think this brings us to what is called explainable AI. There is a lot of work that vendors should be doing on explaining the AI and the AI models to the people who will be using those tools, because that to some extent will ease the adoption of AI into our daily operations. So I think that's a challenge we need to work on. We need to make sure AI is explained to everyone and understood by everyone, so that it can be integrated into our daily operations.
Thanks a lot, Alaa. Thank you.
So I would,
Yeah.
Hasma, I would like to add one thing on the lighter side, which is very, very critical. By giving you an example, it is managing hallucination or data bias. It can be one of the most difficult things to handle when you are trying and looking at curating the data and putting it together. I'll give you an example of something very interesting that happened. There is a chatbot for X which is called Grok, and there is an NBA player named Klay Thompson, and they use a slang in basketball which is called shooting bricks. Now, since he was using that slang, the chatbot, which is Grok, accused him of being somebody who is vandalizing homes. Now, this is how it can become detrimental if we don't take care of the hallucination or the data bias, which is a very, very critical consideration when you're trying to create something on AI. Over to you, Hassan.
Thanks a lot, Abhay. Thanks everyone for your inputs on this one. The next one I think is also very, very interesting, and I see already in the Q&A people asking questions related to this one. Yeah, it's regarding how it should be regulated, how generative AI should be regulated. So the question is, what steps should companies take to ensure compliance with the AI-related regulations? And how should businesses address transparency and accountability in generative AI? And yeah, I think Alaa wanted to address this one.
Yeah, on my side, I think I have one, and I think it's also it was raised by Ayman. I think it's by dedicated a special team for AI compliance. I think that's very important to have that team dedicated and understanding the regulations, understanding what does it take to be protective on the data that we have. So it's about how the anonymize the data, how we save the data. So a dedicated team for AI compliance is a must to be able to proceed with AI.
Thanks a lot for that. Ayman, you wanted to add something as well?
Yeah, and I think today AI is about data. So looking to the data, it's a very critical subject when it comes to the cybersecurity. So we need to protect the data by doing a data governance. So if you're looking for a data governance, I think you should look for 4 different domains, which is data association, which is about data catalog, data quality, and data operation, and the document management, and the data architecture, and data management. And the second domain that you should look after is the use of data. Where do you want to go to use the data as a business intelligence? How you're gonna the data sharing, the policy of data sharing, how to share the data, and where, with the restriction, with the rules, and you have the open data as well. That's something that you should look after, and the data value. The third domain, which is data classification and availability, which is make sure you should have a classification to your data, because the classification is very important when it comes to the data, which is allowing you to restrict the data and how to share the data and how to manage the data. The fourth and the last domain, which is data protection, you have multiple regulation, multiple framework. We have here in Saudi Arabia, we have NCA, National Cybersecurity Authority, we have SADAI, which is responsible about data. So you should make sure that you are compliant with the regulatory when it's come to the data protection. So I think it's very important subject, managing the data and protect the data and the data privacy, etc. When it's come to AI, because it's all about data, and the data is very sensitive because it might lead to a huge impact, not only to the organization, but also it might impact to the whole country. Especially when we're talking about a telco company where it's considered usually as a very critical infrastructure. So any data leakage, it might lead to huge impacts, as I said, on a level of a country. So you make sure that you have very well data management and data governance.
Thanks a lot, Ayman. Thanks a lot. Yeah, so I see that there's a lot of questions on regulation, so we'll come back to those during the Q&A as well. See, it's a really interesting topic for people.
Hamza, just one addition from my side.
Go ahead.
As said by Alaa and Ayman, in AI, in the regulation part, it is mainly about customer privacy or data privacy. For example, we so far we haven't seen, at least in this part of the world, any new regulation law about AI. It is still about customer privacy, data privacy. But in our work, what we see is important to keep a good eye on it is that the ethics sync with the stuff that works with the data for AI purposes. As we said, as you have there, that considers the context, the planning is different there, you do machine learning, you apply. The ethics part is very important to be in place because you cannot regulate everything. You don't know what will come out of the machine learning and so on. And if you don't know, the ethics comes first. The people who deals with AI should have ethics in place, and for that purposes, we launched AI Ethics Board. We have people here from different backgrounds. We meet once a month to look at the cases, use cases that the AI team works on.
Thanks a lot, Mushfig. Thanks a lot. Yeah, I see there's more questions that have been added on regulations. I see that, yeah, it continues to be a very interesting topic. We'll come back to that if we have time at the end during the Q&A. So yeah, the next question that we have, so now we move on to telecom specific use cases. We've already started touching on this. But yeah, we can see there are other use cases that we haven't covered. So yeah, the first questions that we had was on how is generative AI being used to modernize telecom networks. This was one addressed to our vendors. So we can start with you, Rikard. If you have use cases that you still haven't shared with us, please feel free to share them. Thank you.
I mean, first, I think it's just amazing to see how quickly service providers or telcos have adopted AI and gained massive benefit from things like supporting their own customer support team by helping them derive insights from prior support tickets, as an example, reducing support call volume by having capable customer, interaction chatbots. Better customer experience through more capable automated voice interaction in sales and marketing. We're all experiencing this as users as well. So there's been benefits there. Now, if you move over towards operations and networks, it can be used to accelerate the whole network diagnostics process and make that part of the real-time monitoring. For example, we're working with the telcos right now all over the world around what we call continuous sampling and diagnostics. So this can be used, for example, to monitor your VIP customers and or specific enterprises, make sure that your SLAs are met against your customers. Operational triage, really reducing mean time to resolve and restore service is another area that there's a lot of activity and work going on at. And also, anomaly detection more broadly is a well-established space today, and there's great anomaly detection systems in place, and we know what KPIs to monitor. The next step is, when that anomaly is there, is to go in and do the triage, and that's where we have opportunity now to accelerate and automate that and drive closer towards what, I'm sorry, I forgot who mentioned the whole closed loop nirvana that's there. I do also want to just reiterate what we're feeling and seeing also, the need to educate everybody involved in this is key in order for this to truly happen. People have to come along, understand, and learn to appreciate the benefits, and also understand the risks in AI, because there are risks. So I look forward to seeing what's going to happen with large action models going forward, and a combination of different AI and ML as well, to make more powerful systems overall.
Thanks a lot, Rikard. Abhay, you want to touch on this as well?
Yeah, so most of the things have been covered on what is mainly getting deployed on the telco side of things. So customer experience, Rikard talked about it. Network experience enhancement, root cause analysis, Rikard talked about it. What we are seeing now is what I talked about initially, that is using digital twins in order to try and experiment with the network. So that's something which has started gaining traction now. So that's where we are on implementation with most of the operator community in telecom. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Abhay. Yeah, indeed. I wanted to go back to something Rikard mentioned. Everything that's happening right now in terms of action models. This is the side of things that we don't hear a lot about in generative AI. But this is one of the things that will have the most value outside of content generation. Action models will have one of the biggest values. And to be honest, on my side, I believe that's where the value of generative AI will be. Yeah, I had a question for you, Alaa, on the benefits of applying generative AI in network optimization and management.
Well, actually, in Umniah, we have started using AI since last year, and if I would like to share something, I will share 3 useful use cases that we have implemented here. First of which is we used a cognitive AI tool. This is how it is called. And this tool was used to forecast traffic and to do accurate planning. And when I say it forecasts traffic, it gives us a big heads up on understanding where the traffic will be picking up precisely, so that we can enable what we call the intelligent planning. So that's something that is very useful for us to be able to put. Again, it's related to what I was mentioning a few minutes ago around the customer requirements and being close to the customer. So with that, we are able to come closer to put our investments where really the customer is in need for. We are also using this tool for network diagnostics, as Abhay mentioned before. So again, that's something very useful, as I mentioned, to be able to proactively detect and to understand the root cause analysis for issues around our network, and to take the right measures to solve these things. So things like latency, like interference, like missing handover relations, things like this we have, which used to be difficult to detect in the past with the traditional tools of optimization. Now with the power of AI, we're able to detect it much faster and to implement it. So we have seen an improvement on the network throughput, on the general quality of service to the customer by enabling such capabilities. The second use case is around power control. As you know, specifically with introducing 5G, power consumption is getting higher, which is a big pain for telecom operators. And the beauty about AI is, again, that it helps us to control the power, so that we I mean, we put the cells into what we call deep sleep cycles, meaning that when the cell is not needed for the coverage or for the traffic, the tool will automatically take the decision to lock the cell and then to move it to the deep cycle, so that we save the energy used by that cell. So that has been very useful. It comes in different flavors. Of course, it depends on the settings that an operator is deciding to use. So it can the savings can vary. At least for our side, it varied between 10 to even more than 30% saving on the power consumption for 5G. The last one, it was actually an in-house tool that we have developed for a specific use case for us, which is around abnormal network behavior. So when we see, again, around power consumption and we see abnormal power consumption, so we take information from the actual readings, from the counters, from the system, but as well from the bills that we give. And when we use the traffic forecasting and traffic forecasting per cell to understand the normal, or let's say the normal behavior for power consumption, and we compare it to the prediction that we are doing with the AI tool, we were able to detect theft cases actually that happens in sites that are unfortunately being utilized by others who are not our telecom equipment, and that helped us again to control our power and power consumption. So these are very useful use cases. We have been using it on limited scale, and now we are more and more generalizing that on a bigger network part of our network, and even on other subsystems as well, meaning 4G and 3G.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for sharing these use cases with us. Thank you. So yeah, I also had one other question. So for Ayman, on how does generative AI contribute on enhancing customer experience in the telecom sector? I think people already started touching on this one. I think you wanted to add something on this.
Yeah, sure. And I think, as we said, as also my colleague said, that it's related to enhancing the customer experience, but I would like to highlight it more different points here when it's come to the network optimization. So whatever you're using AI to optimize the network, at the end, this will reflect to the customer experience. So using AI to analyze the bandwidth and uses of the network will allow you where you should optimize the network, where you should increase the bandwidth, where you should reduce the bandwidth, automated. This will help to enhance the customer experience and using of your network. Talking about either a business customer or even a consumer customer. The second point is about improving the product or services. So the AI, when you do analysis from your and the feedback from your customer, he will help you to do a business intelligent to enhance your product and service based on a customer feedback and compliance. So whatever feedback coming to you from your customer, either from a social media or from customer services or any channel, using AI will help you to understand or put your hand on the pain area. So you can understand better where you should enhance a product, where you should enhance the services, what the most demanding services by customer, where usually this is kind of, I would say, unutilized feedback most of the time. AI will help you by doing this is very automated and very fast. The last point is give you a marketing insight. So by using AI, you can do analysis to offer all the marketing, looking to your competitor or other market share, and to understand what is the most sellable product, what the other product in the market that you don't have it, what the services or customer are utilizing from other service provider. So utilizing AI to gathering all this information will help you, and it will boost your capability and your services and go to marketing to you. Also will enhance at the end, it will all reflect to have a better experience to your customer and generating more revenue at the end.
Yeah, on this one, so on the market intelligence side of things, from my experience, and I saw this with a lot of clients, it's a real pain point to analyze data on the market. In a lot of sectors, a lot of actors have a lot of subscriptions on newsletters, market analyses, etc. And a pain point that was shared by a lot of clients is that they don't have time to read through all of this data.
Correct, Hamza. They don't have time, and usually when you use a marketing research, like agency or anyone, they usually come up to you with a report, which is usually it's regional or it is worldwide, where you need to look to a specific market or specific city, where it's very difficult to have such report. So using AI will help you to have this is kind of report, this is kind of AI. One more point here, I forget to mention that it is enhancing also the self-portal to the customer. Usually have application, self-service application, or each telecom have such application. So using AI in that application will enhance an experience to the customer by even reporting an issue, or even by activating or provisioning new services, or looking for an invoices issue or whatever. So yeah, I think it have many use cases will enhance the services.
Thanks a lot, Ayman. Thank you. There's another question that we had, which was about the impact of generative AI on telecom revenue and operational efficiency. I would like to link this question with one that I saw in the Q&A, which is also about the talk about operational efficiency and potentially the impact on the workforce reduction, etc. I see that this one is interesting for people, maybe Mushfig, you can address this one.
Yes, so let's start with the efficiency part. As there is question, we see the increasing interest there. So we said that with the latest application of the AI, we plan to reduce staff 20%, especially in customer care and marketing communications part. It is driven by the chatbot and voice assistant that speaks with the customer. And through the telesales that is done by the AI-powered applications. So, I saw the question, Hamza. So to keep the balance that we keep a good focus when we reduce the staff, but also we make sure that there's a good balance. What we do especially in generative AI part, not the automation part, but the Gen AI part, there are a lot of opportunities that many can learn, because it's all about learning. If you have a recent graduates, for example, or a talent in your organizations, that they can start learning from partners and applying and so on. So what we do, we take talents from different parts of the organizations that have shown a good performance, that they follow the trends. So we train them, and then we rehire them. We will transfer them from different parts of the organization to the unit that we opened under commercial to deal with generative AI in the marketing communication part, in the work with the partners. So this is the balance. We want the talents, good performance, to be able to join in new trends by giving them a chance. I believe it's a good chance that we let them to have. On the revenue part, so the personalized marketing, in other words, the customer value management part, now 5% of the telco revenue that we manage comes from that. So the ratio to the total, 5% comes from that. Across the globe, it's a good benchmark that the 5% comes from, compared to the total, comes from customer value management. There are two parts. One is the automation part, that's rule-based, more or less, but there's also a generative part that advises the customer which tariff or products to choose is there as well. So 5% contributes to the revenue. So very recently, we applied the AI-based telesales. Now 20% of the traditional telesales is coming through AI-based automated systems that speaks with the customer.
Thanks a lot, Mushfig. Thank you. Thank you on this one. Yeah, and it was also a question that was addressed in the Q&A. So yeah, I see that we've already started consuming time that was dedicated to the Q&A, but it's not a problem because we're addressing questions that were there. And the next one as well, it's also related to a question that I can see in the Q&A. So we had a question on how does generative AI help in identifying and mitigating cybersecurity threats? Yeah, if you can provide examples on how generative AI can be used to counter cyber attacks in your operations. This one was addressed to Ayman. Yeah.
Well, Hamza, and I think you can use AI by threat detection. This is going to help you by doing a behavior analysis. I mean, pattern recognition, or even enhancing the phishing detections by doing advanced or predictive analysis and automated. You shouldn't need to do anything, or you don't need to do many things manual. So this will be all doing automated, and we will start detection threat by doing a very advanced and real-time data, where usually it's not happening in a normal way without AI. And with a high capability, I would say, I mean, because we will provide you with more advanced analysis. It will help you also to raise the maturity of the team. Today, as an example, all of us, we're facing a problem with the cybersecurity capability. The demand of a capability is high, and the number of people who's capable in a market is very low. This is a global issue. So usually you have to hire, I would say, more fresh graduate or a junior analysis. And usually junior analysts don't have enough experience to do such kind of very advanced analysis. So AI will help them big time by helping them by doing analysis, helping them by asking them to focus on this is a threat, this is a critical. You need to focus and doing analysis to the threat by suggesting a mitigation solution to them. By if answering their questions, you have answered a question, they don't need anymore to wait for a senior analyst to answer, especially if they are on the night shift or a late shift. They can use AI by getting an answer, by doing analysis, etc. So, and AI, as I said earlier, it's used nowadays by hacker to start a very sophisticated attack. So you will use the same way to protect yourself. Because at the end, if you're not starting adapting AI in a cybersecurity, you will be behind, where you usually need to be a step ahead. So this will speed up your response. They will speed up your process. They will speed up even your process, and we reduce the time of incident response sometimes from days or hour to a minute, because it automated created incident response ticket that will start suggesting an action. Even sometimes, if you want, you can do some action. So adopting AI in cybersecurity, it will enhance big time the protection.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Ayman. Thank you. Maybe there's no other additions. We can move on to the next question, as I can see that the time is advancing quickly. So yeah. On the last question that we had, so we had a question on what are the most exciting future trends you foresee in generative AI, and how will future developments in generative AI will influence industries and business models. So I don't know who wants to take the floor first to address this one.
I don't mind.
All of you, Rikard.
Sure. Yeah. So I think for those companies been building technology in GenAI for a while, the wins obviously been long in the making. I mean, starting in the 1940s, but 2011 were some interesting events happening. 2014 with AlexNet, 2017 with the paper attention is all you need, and then of course launching with the ChatGPT a couple of years ago. But that's been long in the making. But for those of us who are in the applied AI space, we look at everything and it's nothing short of amazing. The speed of applicability of these technologies is amazing. So the time to value for LLMs are very short and the gains are immediate. We mentioned a lot of these things: chatbots, co-pilots, various types of interacting with technology. The Deutsche Telekom CEO recently said on a podcast, he was blown away because he said, like, for the first time in history, we can have a human interaction with technology. And so, I mean, it's really amazing stuff. I think the most immediate next leap, of course, is the multimodal LLMs that were mentioned here, where we combine text, sound, image, video, and this more integrated. And we're seeing developments here at breakneck speed as well. We're going to see some form of Moore's law with GPUs. We're also going to see more innovation with tightly integrated memory and networking within the GPU architecture. It's happening already. We might see more competition with NVIDIA, of course, and maybe additional options to TSCM in Taiwan. There's a bottlenecks right now. We're going to see innovative data center architectures come up in combination of new locations where, we have strong internet backhaul and cheap power. And it's also obviously happening already. In my country, for example, there's it's cold up north and a lot of hydropower. And so data center country for sure. We'll see very powerful AI APIs that can create new applications purely based on stating intent. Someone mentioned earlier intent-based applications here. And that's how the APIs are going to look like. And this is really exciting stuff for application developers. The power of that is incredible. From a telco perspective, I think bringing generative AI into all of the operations, including the network, has a lot of promise. It also aligns really well with the software-defined nature of 5G networks. And you, as an operator, will be able to quickly configure and create new services based on interfaces that interact really well with humans. I'm seeing some really cool innovation from telcos that will change other types of communication paradigms. For example, the ability to create network slices, add network services and purpose-built applications in a matter of minutes and serve that to customers. I mean, it's exciting times ahead for sure.
Yeah, indeed. Thanks a lot, Rikard. Any other additions from our panelists?
To complement what is said by Rikard, for example, in content generation part, time to market has reduced already a lot. Like the content that used to be done in 2 weeks, now it is done in 2 days. And the future is that it's about months, if not years. It's gonna be done in minutes. And it looks like real shooting. It looks like the work that used to be done by agencies, and it is really exciting.
Thanks a lot, Mushfig. Thank you.
And I would like to add one point here, that all application of or usage of AI is, in my opinion, is so far is nothing. Because I am assuming in the future we're gonna to have a massive use of AI and gonna to be in our daily life. I mean, the new generation, they will start using AI literally in everything.
Yeah.
And you cannot imagine the capability of AI with a quantum computing in the future. So start utilizing AI with a huge resource and computing, like quantum computing. It's kind of sounds very massive. I mean, I cannot even predict what they can do. So I think we should starting from now taking this as not as an option, but as a must. And we start adapting AI, and we're starting protecting ourselves, finding the way how to utilize, and we're starting even being like integrate human and AI together, start talking to each other, and start using this technology. Because in the future, as I said, it's going to be like it's in a daily life. It's a must.
Indeed. Yeah, thanks a lot, Ayman. Yeah, I think if we have no other additions, we can move on with the Q&A. We're already consumed 16 minutes, but it's okay because we've addressed a lot of those questions in the in the Q&A already. So yeah, it was really an insightful discussion. Thank you all for your inputs. So just as a reminder for the viewers, we've prepared a poll questions. So yeah, to gather your perspective as well, and I will share the poll results live. So I'll launch the poll questions. So you have the first one. Now you can all answer this question. So the first question was, what is the biggest challenge in implementing generative AI in businesses? So we had four choices: data privacy and security concerns, integration with existing IT infrastructure, finding skilled talents, and lack of use case understanding and well-defined purpose. So I'll let you answer this one. Our viewers, your participation is really appreciated. And yeah, we can maybe start addressing questions that haven't been addressed during our discussions. So we had an interesting one on what are the developments in the filtering process of data sets that are used in training the generative AI models. So I don't know who wants to address this one, but I think it's an interesting one. So how can we filter the data that we use to train the generative AI models?
So I can take a stab at it. So there's nothing very different that happens. Typically, what we have been doing for filtering data, typically for analytics use cases, like the most important being removing the duplicates, augmenting whatever is missing, taken into consideration. What kind of data sets are important? What are the important attributes of the data, taking that out and putting it together, and then sampling it. I mean, all the typical techniques that you use for your regular analytics consideration is what you do here as well. So it's not very different from the data filtering that you do for analytics. The important factor here that is critical from a data standpoint, apart from what you do in analytics, is you are not very worried about I mean, you are only taking into consideration one set of data, which is what you feed into the analytics, and based on that, the analytics is taken into consideration. Here, it is very important that you have data sets coming from other than your own systems, because it could create a serious bias based on which, because the data set that you are using is only of one certain type. So this is another critical factor that you need to take care when you're creating or curating your data sets for language modeling. I hope that answers.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
I was just going to say, in my case, where we use packet capture data, which is a very specific format, and we look at that as its own language and its own grammar, for example, but there are words in there that really confuse large language models. For example, IP addresses have no meaning and creates a lot of confusion. So yes, there is curation required, or filtering, if you like, and this is where you have to understand the domain and the specific technology that you're working with, and there's no secret sauce or automated way of doing it. It's a lot of hard work to get it done right. Once it's done right, it runs right. But yeah.
Indeed. Yeah, thanks a lot, Rikard. what I see, I'm already starting to see the results of the poll questions. What I haven't realized is that all of the questions can be answered at the same time. Or I see that there's 24 respondents already. So the first question that I've asked, so on what is the biggest challenge in implementing generative AI in businesses? Yeah, it was a big majority of the answers were about data privacy and security concerns. So that takes 67% of the answers. So people really find this as the biggest challenge. I think, yeah, the close second, not that close, just the second is the lack of use case understanding and well-defined purpose, which is also mentioned by Ayman, I think, in the beginning of the discussion. So it's not only about implementing AI, but why are we implementing the AI? That needs to be the first question to address. So I can move on to the next question in the poll, which was which aspect of telecom operations would benefit from AI-driven processes, which will benefit most from processes that are AI-driven. The first one here was, so 46% of respondents say that customer experience and service personalization is the biggest aspect that will benefit from AI. I think we already mentioned that as well. A lot of you mentioned that personalization will be one of the key things that will benefit from generative AI. I think, the second one was network optimization and capacity planning, 21%. So it's not a close second. And the last two were predicted maintenance and cost reduction. So the last three are kind of similar, but personalization really is what people find that will benefit the most. I think the third question, people are kind of biased in answering this one.
Hamza, related to the workforce reduction.
Yeah,
and I think AI will not replace the human for sure, because AI at the end it will not think as a human. So I will link this to the previous question when they ask about the data. So I do not think AI will able to recognize a type of data. So you need to feed AI with a high quality data, an instant to get high quality results. So if you feed the AI with rubbish data, you'll get rubbish results. So AI for sure will not replace a human, and because cannot think like a human. So it will not. AI will not replace a human in a workforce, but it will change the workforce of start doing a very repeated job to a smart job. So the human mainly is going to deal with the AI and asking the AI to start doing this is repeated process job, and start a human to be in a thinker way, and to guide the AI what to do and not to do. But definitely it will not replace the human.
I saw questions on this. We already touched on this, but this is a big topic for people, and this is why here we were talking about cost reduction, because there will be new use cases that will be. It's the same with automation. It's the same when internet came in. There will be new cases that will be driven by the fact that people are more efficient. So there will be a cost per operation that will be driven down. Doesn't necessarily always mean workforce reduction, but indeed, there's a big jump in operational efficiency. In the third question that we had, it was, in which industry do you think generative AI will have the biggest impact in the next 5 years? I'm not sure the questions here are not biased. I think, we have TMT, so Telecom, Media, and Technology, with a whopping 64% of the answers. But I imagine that we have a lot of representative of this industry amongst our viewers. So of course, Yeah, the other industries that we've listed were retail and e-commerce, automotive and autonomous vehicles, sorry, and education and personalized learning. I think all of these industries will see a lot of advancements in the next 5 years. Yeah, I don't know if you have any specific additions on this one, but yeah, I can maybe move on to the next one. The last questions that we had was which area of telecom operations could benefit the most from AI-driven automation? So this was kind of split. So we had 4 choices, close in terms of percentages, in terms of responses. So the first is cybersecurity. We talked about it a lot during this webinar. So 32%. The 2 second choices were network slicing and resource allocation, which was one of the choices, 24%, and customer churn prediction and retention strategies was also 24%. And last one, 20%, so not that far, was 5G network rollout and optimization. So I can see on this one, it's more split in terms of responses. So maybe we can go back to the Q&A questions. We had an interesting one, so we touched on it, but not in details, which was related to the energy consumption. So the exact question is, does the profitability of telcos while using AI depends only on the energy consumption? So I imagine the answer is no. Does anyone here want to elaborate on this one?
So Hamza, you said we touched upon different aspects of it. The answer is no, as you clearly said. There is the profit that is impacted by the reduction of the staff. There is a profit that is reduced by the time to market. There is a part that impacts profit in network optimization and so on. So it has marketing part, it has automation part, it has, I don't know, the personalized CVM, customer value management part, and so on. So it has a lot of aspects there.
Indeed. Yeah, indeed, there's a lot of aspects, but one of the key driver of model performance will still be energy consumptions by the different data centers that are used for generative AI.
Yeah, on that count, I would like to add, actually, it's not going to be easy, and everyone should realize what is the cost of doing generative AI. So the data centers are not very well designed today. The standard data centers are not designed for the kind of racks that are used for generative AI GPUs. On the weight parameter, what you need is almost double of what the standard data centers are. Same is the case as far as power is concerned. Per rack of a typical AI data center would need close to about 6.5 to 7 kilowatt of energy required. So I mean, there is going to be a lot of changes that would be needed on the data center end, on the capabilities in the on-prem capabilities that you have built in. And it's not an easy thing in order to do that. So use case and what kind of infrastructure that you want, which was talked about earlier, whether you want to do yourself or whether you want to use the cloud infrastructure or the hyperscaler infrastructure, is a big consideration on how you would like to take it forward.
Thanks a lot, Abhay. Yeah, we're running out of time. I just saw this last question, which I found really interesting, which is, what if AI could self-learn and find its way, and can someone create model where AI self-learns? I don't know if anyone has an input on this one. I find it interesting to close off the discussion, if anyone has any inputs on this one. Yeah,
I think it's AI based on self-learning. So it will, because the idea of AI to start learning by himself, by putting more data and start learning more.
Yeah.
But at the end, it has a limitation. So don't think AI will able to do, almost everything, but you need to make sure that's why I said we need to utilize an AI in a best way. As I would give an example, small example, ChatGPT. Today, most of the people, or 90% of the people, I think, they don't know how to use ChatGPT. They usually go and ask small question and waiting for answer. But if you start looking and search how to use ChatGPT, you will find different technique and mechanism to use ChatGPT to get best content or I would say more quality content. So this is kind of technique and mechanism will help you to use AI in a much better way.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Ayman. Thanks for answering this one. I think, yeah, we need to close on this interesting discussion. I also have a lot more questions, and I see that there are more that are still in the Q&A. Just to let you know, our viewers, that in case you need to follow up with any of our panelists, I am sharing my screen now. You have the follow-up contacts that you can use to follow up with our panelists. Thanks to you all, our viewers, our panelists, also for your really interesting insights. It was a really interesting discussion. I've learned a lot personally on how AI can be used in the telecoms sector specifically. So yeah, thanks a lot. It was a great discussion.